Well, earlier this week, Australia's first rental affordability index found Sydney is the most expensive city in the country for renters. We probably didn't need anyone to tell us that, with some people having to put more than 60% of their income towards property prices.
Incredible numbers. So when it comes to real estate, is it smarter to buy, and how can you ensure that you're getting value for your money? For more on this, we're joined by property expert David Highland from Highland Property Agents. Great to have you on the show, David.
Thanks, Larry.
Hi, David.
In light of those recent renters' reports, is it smarter to buy than to rent right now?
Look, it's a good question. I think relevant to the market at the moment, I think there's no secret around the fact that the market is going through change. I think that the next 12 months is an optimistic one, but I think with interest rates still as affordable as they are, my view is that buying's still the way to go if you've obviously got the resources to do it.
Well, that's right. If you listen to young people, though, saving for a deposit is almost impossible in some of our big cities. What are some alternative strategies for getting into the housing market, therefore?
Look, I think the easy one is that maybe pair up with a family member, one of your siblings, or obviously in any area, in a particular area, we're seeing that the parents are assisting with some equity secured in their own homes. But lastly, you've got other alternatives like deposit bonds and those kind of things that might be able to help you with the process as well.
You've got to have a look across all those options. What do first home buyers need to consider, do you reckon?
Look, I think one of the fundamental mistakes for a first home buyer is rushing into things and jumping into a purchase that might be emotionally sort of driven. I think it's important that you slow down. Obviously, you do your due diligence and you understand one area. Too often do I see first home buyers sort of spread themselves across maybe 10 suburbs when my view is get to know one particular price point, one suburb very well so you can buy well.
Right, okay. What about those considering selling? Can you break down the good and the bad for us when it comes to selling?
As far as the current market goes?
Sure.
Look, yeah. I think that it's a great opportunity to capitalise on a 2015 market at the moment. I think that there's still plenty of inquiry out there. I guess the negatives are that we've only got 3 weeks left of the year. So if you were planning on selling, my view is that you should be planning for February.
Yeah, because there's a bit of a sense that it's come off the boil, right? So those auction clearance rates are sort of a bit lower now than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think the media gets really hyped up about clearance rates. My view is that clearance rates are a good barometer in terms of what the market's doing. But 85, 90% clearance rates, that's not a normal market. At the moment, if they're 50, 55, my view is with almost 20 years worth of real estate experience, we're now in a normal marketplace.
Okay. Take us through your property predictions for next year. What are you thinking?
I think it's going to stabilise. I think that October for our group and probably across the country was driven a lot by what was happening in the media. A few of the banks came out with some fairly aggressive predictions about what was going to happen next year. I think October was a bit of a shock factor for a lot of people that were in the industry. We're already seeing things are starting to settle down.
All right, we're right out of time. Just before we say goodbye, can you run us through the biggest mistakes that people need to avoid? Probably?
Sure. Look, for me, it's more or less emotionally based. Sorry, I've got it over here. Going above your limits is obviously an important one. I think the banks will throw an enormous amount of money at you if you've obviously got the paperwork to prove it. Make sure you do your homework on a price point, like I said earlier. And lastly, like I said, emotional decisions. Too often do we see too many of our clients get caught up at auction.
Good information. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
for more details about the current property market, just head across to the Morning Show website. It's all there for you.